Morning, everybody. 8:11 a.m. August 20th. Welcome to my channel. Now, yesterday we finally broke out of that balance in the SPY. We were already downtrending in the Nasdaq. All right. Now, what happened really? What happened really yesterday? Right under the hood of the markets. Okay. Tech and communications were really the only laggards that brought the market down. Okay. Rest of the market was green. There was a clear rotation out of tech, basically, AI. All right, that's what was driving the market. Now, infotech is 34%. The XLK sector is 34% of the market cap weight in the S&P 500. It's a massive weight. The market usually goes where that goes. Okay, communications is almost 10%. So right there, 44% of the market cap weight in the S&P 500 was red, even though the rest of the sectors were green. This is how our market works. Okay, that's why Nasdaq really pushed lower, and the ES followed it later. Okay, the ES followed it later. Now, what you can see here is a rotation, and we're in August. Remember, I've been kept talking about August being seasonally weak. Okay, just needed some type of catalyst to help it. Right, we were frothy. I was getting a lot of alerts that put the call ratios were at extreme levels. Okay, I did map out live on my stream that I wanted to short 64.70 as a retest. It came into my hands, and I hesitated a couple seconds because of my ticks, and that was the short. And then I stalked shorts the rest of the day. Just didn't have the picture perfect setup like that 64.70. That 64.70 was the perfect setup. That stinks, right? Because the market fell. I was anticipating a break of balance. At that point, we didn't break the balance. Okay. Now, what I do know is my bookmap setups are working all the time. What scared me was ticks. Now, I went back this morning and I replayed the session just to see if there was something that maybe would have threw me off solely on bookmap. No, that was a short, right? And then the market considered the right there gets dropped. All right, so 64.70, I would have been short about 10 contracts. I probably would have took a majority off at the lows a day, but then held a runner just because of the the market breaking out of this balance, and it would have been a pretty trade, right? Now, I was joking that I'm a salty because it is annoying, but it's only on me, right? This just goes into my playbook, into what I've been seeing in Bookmap, and just giving me more confidence to pull the trigger. Ticks generally in the past when they're firing hot, like green yesterday, I don't typically like to fight them, but it's showing me the Bookmap kind of trumps that. So I have to like write that down, log that down, that price action is going to trump anything. Just gives me confidence for the next time. All right. All right. Now, we're going to get into a bunch of stuff. Now, one thing that I want to talk about, and it probably is somewhat of the reason, and I wasn't aware of this yesterday, okay, is there was news. Oh, let me see if I can get that back up here. There was news here. Maybe this is not going to refresh. There we go. So, what happened yesterday? Okay, I'm going to give credit to Markets for Mayhem. Wow, he says, 95% of organizations investing in generative AI have little or nothing to show for it per MIT. U.S. companies have invested between 35 million, 35 and 40 billion in generative AI initiatives, and so far have nothing to show for it. Okay. Now, Citron. Okay. It says Citron. It says they were talking about Palantir and talking about how it was overvalued, comparing it to OpenAI, basically saying it's way overvalued. And Palantir took a nasty dip yesterday. So this is kind of a little catalyst for, all right, they're not making money on all this capex investing, right? Then we're going to take our money out of tech right now. We're going to rotate it into real estate, uh, staples, materials, right? I'm a holder of PepsiCo. PepsiCo. PepsiCo was getting destroyed and battered around the 130s, made a big base, and I averaged down again into my position, and now it's bearing some fruits, right? That was really getting destroyed, so it's caught a bid. Now, like I said, that rotation happened yesterday. I don't know if that continues. I don't know. Okay, we're gonna get into a bunch of gamma things today, and expected moves. I'm gonna get into an options trade that I put on Meta. Like I said, I want to start making strategies around the expected move indicator. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's get right into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gap exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Okay, that is my edge. I also use Anchor View Ops. I also use my baby, the market internals. Okay, market internals. That tells me what's under the hood of the markets. All right. Now, if you want, go to my YouTube homepage, sign up my Discord. Sign up for my Discord. All right. Now, why I'm saying that, right? Here's my Discord. So yesterday, giving you guys the what I'm seeing in the markets, the divergence. I'm giving you audio messages telling you exactly what I'm seeing. Right? Tell you that I missed my 70 shorts. Right? Now, if you want to skip all that and you want to just get a nice free indicator for the weekly expected move, just copy the link here, put it on your Thinkorswim charts. Okay? Let me know what you think of when these stocks hit its expected moves to the downside or to the upside. 70% of the time, stocks close within that range. Okay? 70% of the time. All right? So, get in later. I have an options trade on Meta. I'm gonna maybe do on AMD. I did post this morning. Meta, AMD, and Boeing have all hit their expected move. Netflix came close. Berkshire Hathaway is going towards its expected move to the upside. That's the number one holdings in financials. Okay. So, with that being said, sign up. Join my Discord, Confluence Trading. I've been going live with a little community there. Let me be your indicator. Okay? I will not steer you wrong. I will not steer you wrong. Okay? Also, why don't you join me in my YouTube? I stream every day. Give you the market story. Have a cup of coffee, tea, water, whatever you want to do, your favorite beverage. Let me be like one of my friends, Rosita, that comes in here. She says, you're my podcast in the mornings. I just listen to you. I get all the stock updates, the market news, right? Economic calendar, all that stuff, right? And then I give a bunch of technical analysis, which gets a little advanced later on, and I give you long and short trade scenarios. And today I'm going to give you little bonuses, little bonuses, right? We're going to go over some gamma levels. We're going to go over my options trade, all right? So let's get into it, folks. Let's get into it. Let's just see what the futures are telling us. What the futures are telling us. Let's get into it. Who's leading the pack today? Bitcoin took quite a fall. All right, Bitcoin's at 113. The VIX is pumped up a little bit, up 1.41%. Ethereum's up 1.25%. Crude's catching a bid. There was a little bit of down in inventories yesterday in crude. Gold up 0.65. 30-year bonds are pretty much flat. Silver's flat. Dow's flat. Dollar's flat. Russell's down 0.07. ES down 0.08. Pretty much flat. 10-year yield down 0.19. Still hanging around at 4.29 yields. Nasdaq's down 0.19. Very muted today, right? Made a big move. Now, whenever a market makes a big move, generally the next thing to do is take a rest, take a breather. Picture it like you just ran. You ran a marathon. You're going to take a breather. You're going to rest. Does it always happen that way? No, but most times it does. Okay, now remember, we'll get into it in a second when I go over market internals. This just wasn't an all-out sell. It just wasn't. Keep that in mind. Okay, keep it in mind. I'm not saying we can't go down farther. I'm not saying that. All right, we'll keep going on here. All right, let's go to the Mag 7 Plus. Who's the leader? Coinbase. Coinbase is up 0.51, followed by Nvidia. Nvidia's got earnings, I believe, on the 27th. Okay. Who's lagging here? AMD. AMD's expected move to the downside is, I believe, 165. It's below that right now. It's below that. That's been the darling of the semis of late. Okay. It's hit its past its 20-day simple moving average. Okay, but I might throw an options play on that because it's at its expected move to the downside. Okay, doesn't mean it can't go farther. It just means that it probably won't. Probabilities in my favor. Top sectors, real quick. Snowflake up 2.04%. The laggard is your Walmart and United Healthcare. Now, Walmart, I believe, has reported earnings this morning. Okay, granular list. Let's look at the granular list. Lowe's reported earnings are up 3.08%. Ross, I believe that's Ross, up 2.1. Nubank up 1.3. Who's lagging here? Target reported earnings. They're down 10.53%. Micron down 5.04%. Carvana down 3%. Palantir down 2.8%. Good. So Palantir continues to fall after that Citron report. All right, moving on to sectors. That's what we care about. Energy is your leader, up 0.32. The laggard is Staples. Interesting, Staples, right? Because that's Walmart. That's Walmart. All right, but Walmart's not that down, so there might be something in there that I'm not seeing yet. All right, we'll get into it. All right, we'll get into it. Now, let's go over to some economic calendar. There's not much today. Well, there's FOMC minutes. I hope to be away from the markets by that time. That's just the minutes of our last meeting. All right, we do have a 20-year bond auction at 1 p.m. We have mortgage rate came out. Doesn't move the markets at all. Fed Waller speaks at 11. Said Fed Waller speaks at 11. The Feds haven't been moving the needle much when they talk. They just haven't. Okay. Let's look at news. Here we go. Target stock slumped 10% after the discounter appointed Michael, I don't know how to say that, Fidelki, the company's current chief operating officer, to succeed Brian Cornell as CEO. All right. Estee Lauder stock fell 7.6 of the cosmetic giant forecast annual profit below Wall Street expectations. Lowe's stock rose 3.1 after the retailer beat earnings expectations and revised its full-year outlook. I believe TJX is TJ Maxx. Stock rose 2.6 after the retailer reported second quarter comparable sales to beat expectations. Snowflake. This is why Snowflake's up. Snowflake stock rose 2.4 after the Bank of America upgraded stance on the cloud-based data storage company to buy. All right. That's all there. Let's look at some more news. I don't think there's much here. Let's see here. Fed minutes could show whether Waller and Bowman had company in favoring rate cuts soon. Home Depot, Rogers target price 474 from 460. All right. Let's look at the juice together. The juice we got today. Fed Waller, Trump. He's not really scheduled for much today. Nothing that's going to affect trading. All right, nothing's going to affect trading. Maybe we look at upgrades, downgrades. Maybe this is updated now. It is. All right, upgrades, Hormel Foods, McCormick, some staples, getting some love. Snowflake, there it is. Downgrades, let's see those. There's no downgrades here, but I know there is. Okay, but we're going to move on. Remember that Fed Watch 2, I looked at it, it's at 82%. It was at almost 99%. That is something to look at. All right, let's look at internals. Let's go to internals. Let's really look at it. And we'll just really briefly discuss what I was talking about before. All right, just in the market internals recap here. Now, if documents is here, Rosita may have heard me yesterday. I know how. I don't think he listens to my stream, but another guy that's on my stream a lot. They know I track this, right? They know I track this. So look at the sectors here. These are from the open. 1.7%, 1.70%. Infotech down. Communications down 0.58. The rest of the sectors were green. Okay. So what did we do here? You can see that was the early strength. And then look at this equal weight, how disconnected it was. And that equal weight it only got negative for a little bit, and then it still just was not weak. Because the majority of this was from the communications and tech. Okay, so yes, you got to look at these bars in this weighted indicator. You have to look at the bars is what the market's doing. Equal weight just shows, well, the rest of the market, if it was all equal, would have been up. If these two sectors were just flat, the market would have been up yesterday. Crazy, right? That's how the market works, right? So look at this weekly gamma flip point, 64.05s in the SPX. Okay, that became support yesterday. That's why I was a little wary of shorting down there. Okay, now we're going to get into some gamma now. All right, I just showed you the SPX's weekly gamma flip point is 64.05. If we look at the SPY and the QQQ gamma levels from yesterday, I was pointing it out to my boy Documents here. SPY hit the monthly gamma flip point, 639. Below that for the month, based on September, I believe it's 19th, could be 15th, the third Friday of September, okay? That's the next monthly expiration. That's what the market's saying is negative gamma below that level. Well, the market held it. That was a monster level to hold. Okay. That was very important. All right, so I just wanted to show you guys that. All right. Now, before we get into anything else, all right, I want to share with you guys just my trade for the weekly expected move. Okay. Let me pull up a chart here. This is going to be brief, and I understand this is an advanced options thing, but I just want to make sure you guys understand the power of options. Okay? The power of options. So let's look at Meta. Boom. We're going to look at Meta, okay, in particular. All right, let's zoom in. Now, what Meta did yesterday, it hit its expected move to the downside. That move was 752. 752. If you look at the daily chart, okay, and I'm going to put, that's the 20-day simple moving average. It hit that. A lot of people look at that, right? Now, we also have what? You gapped up here. So 745 here, you don't want to lose that. Stay in this upper portion. There's a gap here, right? There's a gap. Now, to get a little granular in here, I have a trend line as well. Okay, so this trend line right here, let's change this setting here. And let me get some expansion here so you guys can see that a little better. Okay. So there's a trend line of Meta from that low. Swing low connected, right? Right around here. So this is like around, what is this, Friday would be, what, a couple days from now. Like here, that trend line lines up with like 740. Okay? So it's hit its expected move, hit the 20-day simple average. So this is how I construct a trade. All right? So I know that this powerful move to the downside gives me some pumped up options down in puts. Okay, so if we get a little closer, what I'm looking at is the 50-day moving average here. That is at 726 right now. Also, this big time resistance here. So if you filled this gap, right here, right? So what you can do in options. So picture this. I think if we get farther movement, now remember the odds against this, it's only a 30% chance we can close outside of this expected range. 30% chance. That's it. Right? The move down to the downside, it was priced into the options market, hit 28 simple movers. So, what can I do with that information? So, based on that information, and I know this, the 50-day moving average is about 726, right? And a key resistance area. But we have a trend line in the way as well, around the 740s, right? That could also hold the market. So what am I gonna, what do I do with this information? So I know, okay, let's take the extreme. Let's say the market, now remember, I only have, what's today, Wednesday? Only have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I'm gonna use Friday's expiry, okay? Theta, time decay is on my side. Rapidly declining. Okay, that's in my favor. So what I wanted to do was target a strike 725 in meta. So how you construct this is you do what's called a broken wing butterfly. Okay, a broken wing butterfly. If you know anything about regular basic options, right? Basic is like you could do a what you call here is a credit spread with puts. Okay, that would be basic. I could have sold a 725 strike with bought a 720, and as long as the market stays above 725, I get paid. Right, but I wanted to be a little more advanced than that. Okay, so when you do a broken wing butterfly, you get the best of both worlds. Okay, and I know this is advanced, and like I said, if there's questions, I'll answer them. Not even sure if anybody's even watching, but let's go to my trade just to show you guys. So here is my trade. Okay, so I did a broken wing butterfly, a put broken wing butterfly. Okay, so this trade, what I did is I bought 730 puts, sold two 725 puts, and then bought 707 and a half puts just to cap my margin. Now I know if you're new, you're like, what the heck is he talking about? Right? That's the broken wing butterfly. Now, this is where I think it's very cool. If you don't understand advanced options, you'll understand this. You'll understand this, okay? I'm going to go in and show you the risk profile here, and this is where it gets exciting. Okay? So let me see if I can really get in here. Okay. So I want to show you something. Okay? This is the risk profile of this trade. Okay? Now check this out. When I construct this trade, this is how options is very cool. All right? Notice the risk profile. What did I do? I put this option spread on for a 50-cent credit. Okay? So I've already gotten paid 50 bucks to take this trade. I know that's kind of hard to comprehend, but yes, 50 bucks has already been credited to my account for this trade. Okay? Why? Right? So what this tells me here is if Meta right here closed yesterday at 751. I know it's down to 745 right now. That's fine. Right? If this stock, as long as it stays above 730 by expiration, I collect 50 bucks. I just take it. All right. It can go to the moon. I get 50 bucks. If, notice this little triangle here. I'm trying to get this bigger. And every time I try, it's just not getting bigger here. Let me see something here. Okay, let's get this. Let's try to. Here we go. Okay, that's better. Okay. Okay. So remember, stock can fall, go up now. Catch a bid. I collect my 50 bucks. If on Friday we start to come into that 50-day moving average, I want you to look at my P&L at the top of that triangle. This is around that 50-day moving average and that resistance level I talked about. Okay. So this is what's cool. I'm not sure if you can see that, but I'm going to tell you. If it closes by on Friday around that area, I can make $550. So understand that. If Meta rips to the upside now, I make 50 bucks. All right, okay. I made 50 bucks. If Meta gets weaker, and I know that 50-day moving average, that trend line's there, I don't think it will go there, but if it does, I have a chance to make 550 bucks, and I got 50 bucks I got paid to put the trade on. I got paid to put the trade on. That is a broken wing butterfly. Okay, there's a lot of other things you can do with advanced options, but I just want to make you understand that. Goes to the moon, I collect 50. Starts to get weak into Friday. Now remember, theta decay will be down to almost zero. It will be zero on Friday. It just goes down. So this spread could really, even if we're here, really expand. Like let's say we even just make it to 728. I'm still making 290. The goal is to come down to here. Even if it goes all the way down to 720, I can still make 70 bucks on top of my 50. I know this is advanced, and I know somebody might be like, I don't know what the hell I'm looking at. Maybe you comprehended it. I'm trying to make it in layman's terms of what it is. Okay? If I go back to my position, okay, if I just do this, I'm getting $50 to put the spread on. Right? That's just how I constructed it. 2 days to expiration. 2 days. Using the expected move. Now, if I'm going to do something in AMD, I'm going to do something very similar. Okay? Do something very similar. Now, I don't know who's sleeping. Somebody might be sleeping and going, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't understand what he's talking about. All right? I apologize. I just thought that was a little intro on advanced options. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Maybe you have some questions. I don't know. And we're going to move on to daily charts. Okay, we're going to move right on. So let's do it. Let's go back to that SPY. Let me get back to my settings here that I like to have here. All right. So here's our SPY. What did we do yesterday? We broke out of a 4-day bounce. We finally did it. Okay, we finally did it. Well away from the expected move to the downside, 61.34. Well. We hit the 9MA daily. We hit last month's highs. Okay, that's what we did. We're in the middle of last week's range. In the middle of last week's range. Where are we at now? 638.95. 638.95. We were at the lows of yesterday. We are at the lows of yesterday. All right, moving on. Let's look at the futures. Futures here. Look at the futures. Hit the 20-day simple moving average this morning. Okay? People look at those moving averages. It's just how it works. There's probably algos on them, but it's getting bought up from the 20-day simple moving average. Now, we also have a daily demand right here. You want to crack a demand zone? There it is. Right around here. That would be a demand zone. It came right in this daily demand, and we're getting bought. Okay? So, remember, we're in last week's range. Didn't even touch last week's lows. Hit the 20-day simple moving average. Keep that in mind. Okay? Remember what I said. All day yesterday, documents couldn't attest to it if he's in here. I said 64.10. 64.10 is where we're going to go. That was ultimate balance prior. 64.10 is probably where this market wants. Didn't go there in the real-time trading session yesterday. It went in the overnight. That's why I'm saying I think this move is done for now. Okay? Unless there's a catalyst, unless there's look at the trading around here. And it's a daily demand zone. Okay, keep that in mind. We just came far away, broke out of balance. Today's probably a rest day. Now, you can't get any different with the QQQ chart, right? That has been in a downtrend. On the daily chart, you hit the 20-day simple moving average. People look at that. That held the market. The first test held it. Held the market. Expected move to the downside, 564. 564. Okay? Where are we at now? 568.30. 568.30. We are at the lows of yesterday. We are at the lows of yesterday. Okay? Let's look at futures. Nasdaq also broke a key level yesterday, 235. That is a very key level. Okay? Very key level. Now, we'll look at this chart. You broke the 20-day simple moving average in futures. You broke the 20-day simple moving average. You are outside to the downside of last week's range. Nasdaq is relatively weak. We know this. You do have a daily demand. Daily demand zone right here. From here to here. And we are holding that daily demand. We came right into this daily demand zone. We're popping up. It held this level. It held it. I don't know if it keeps holding it. Below it, though, you have a monster consolidation. Okay? That is your market for futures in the Nasdaq right now. Again, I'm going to skip triple-headed monster because I don't believe we need to talk about it right now. That bond market is not doing a thing. Okay? Now, moving on to hourly charts. Let's look at the ES. I have some things to show you. Okay? Here's our hourly charts. Let's get out my marker. All right. Let's look at the levels. All right, so this is the hourly chart. All right. Here's your anchor view up from all-time highs right there. That's the blue. This right here is your weekly day anchor view up. All right. This, you folks, this is very important to show you. This is the month-to-date anchor view up right here at 63.94. That means that, believe it or not, buyers are still in control of August in the ES. They're still in control of August. Look at the high volume node here. That held the market. This is the most traded price of the month. Right there. This area used to be ultimate balance. So remember what I said. The market's up here. I said if we fail, that's horrible. The market's up here. Okay? I said if we fail, we're going to come back down to ultimate balance. That's what we did. Okay, that's what we did. That's why I'm saying this is not a level that you just rip through. It just doesn't happen. Okay? Now, what did I have on my charts here? I have a Fibonacci from this move of the high yesterday. Okay, I put it down to the lows that were just made in the overnights. Okay, so the important levels you want to look at. Okay, this is a Fibonacci. So these are shallow pullbacks, 23.6, 38.2. If you really come back here and fail, we're probably going to go back and test lows. All right, now the real level to look at is your 50% retracement is 64.42. Do we go back and retrace half of this move? I don't know. Last line of defense, 64.50s. 61.8 retracement. Usually when you take the 61.8s out, you go back and retrace it 100%. Now remember, we're in August. Been saying it a lot. We're in August. Seasonally bearish month. We were getting frothy. Okay? We were getting frothy. Let's look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq is relatively weaker, okay? We know this. And this is the 235 that I said that was a big beast. Okay, right here. Now I want to show you this. Okay, this was the most traded price of the last month, 235s. I said if we broke that, that's not good at all. At all. We took a tumble down to the bottom of this demand zone, right? And now we're here. But look at this. You have another high volume node around 233. Give you that level in the middle of it, like 23370s. That is holding your NASDAQ. That is holding your NASDAQ. Now I put a Fibonacci. I put it from yesterday's overnight highs right here. All right, so we already retraced 23.8% right here, 23453s. We already hit that. Okay, that's a shallow pullback, right? What you want to look at is 23587s. That's 50% retracement. And the 23646s. That's 618. 618s line up with the weekly date anchored VWAP. Now the big difference, okay, the big difference is the anchored VWAP for the month. This is red now. It's right there. It's red. 23523. That's the anchor VWAP for this month. Sellers are now in control in the NASDAQ, but they're not in the ES. That's the disconnect. That is the disconnect. Okay? So your levels to look at is your 2-3. Let's just call this 2-3-4s. We could bounce in between the 2-3-4s and the 2-3-5s today. That would not surprise me. If you take back 2-3-5s, let's say we do this, do this, do this, do this, well, it's going to have to do a lot more work now to get back down there. That probably means the move is over for now. I really think we do games around this level and maybe do games. That's what I'm thinking. Okay? Remember, we need a rest day. Doesn't mean you have to. We have a FOMC minutes. They don't usually move the markets much. Okay? They don't usually move the markets much. That's your hourly charts, folks. Hope you're staying with me. Thank you, Rosita. So you are here. I'm assuming I'm being listened to like a podcast right now, and you're not seeing the golden nuggets. Now we're catching a little bit of a bid right now in the market, which is fine. Okay, we got a lot of selling from yesterday. Okay. Now, let's move on. We're going to go to my futures market profile. Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to go right into analyzing the ES. Okay. Here we are. Here's our beautiful ES. Let's look at that profile. Okay. Alrighty. So, we know we just broke out of balance, right? Beautiful, beautiful move. All right. We broke out of balance. Now, what's interesting here, we opened here, and look, we drove all the way down to what I said, 6409, 6410 area, ultimate balance. We got bought up since then. We're up here. We were 100. We were like maybe 80, 85% net short at one point, and now we just got bought up. So at the first shot, the market took profits there. Not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. All right, we're inside yesterday's range, but we're in the lower third of yesterday. So bearish. We're holding the lows of yesterday. That's bearish. Okay. Doesn't mean we can't take a little boost up today. Doesn't mean we can't move sideways. Do I think we just go and break those overnight lows? Unlikely. Unlikely, remember, it's all probabilities. I say unlikely. Okay. So, let's look at some levels here. So right off the bat, what's jumping out at me? Jumping out at me is this supply zone, which is the overnight highs. It encapsulates the close. Okay. and yesterday's most traded price. That's a very important level. Okay? That is your mini bull bear line. Okay? Stay under that. We probably play around in this lower end of the range. We break it and hold it. Ooh, I don't know. We could end up somewhere in here somewhere. Got a little pocket of volume here that is not the strongest. You can see there's volume being built out down here. So the job of the market is now to move the 6470s, which are where I wanted to get my short yesterday, is to bring it down lower. Maybe down to the 6423s. Maybe down to the 6433s. I don't know. If we see this migration of the 5-day or the most traded price of the week lower, that's bearish. Hasn't happened yet, right? So if we take a rest, like I said, after that marathon, maybe we build that out and maybe we move that price, most traded price of the week, lower, which means that price would take value lower. If it can't, price will return back to value. Okay. Now we do have a poor low at the overnight lows. That is poor structure. Okay, that is poor structure. That could get cleaned up today. I don't know. Buyers already stepped in there. We have to see. Now, we do have an old ultimate balance. This is the range I'm going to put here. That is the macro defense for bulls. You cannot lose 6410. So if you find yourself in the 6400s, that's an even number, and you find acceptance below that, that is bearish macro picture for the ES, the S&P 500. That is bearish. Okay. Now, yesterday we have to make one other thing. 50% retracement of yesterday is 6447. So I'm going to mark a little range around here. And what does that signify? You have the week-to-day anchored VWAP in here. You have supply zone. You have the breakdown level right here. Okay. Now let's get into scenarios. That's what everybody's here for, right? Let's break out this profile here. All right. Balance profile on the overnight. All right, balance profile on the overnight. So we're going to start off here with a bear. Bears are in control. Now, write it down. 6434 area is your bull bear line for the immediate time right now. That's your bull bear line for the immediate time we're in now. Remember, macro bull bear line 6410 to 6400. Okay. So, what are we going to do here? Well, if this market starts to move up and it's going to challenge the 6434s, your most traded price yesterday, supply overnight highs. Well, what do I want to see? I want to see it try and maybe fails, dips under the 6432's most traded price of yesterday, which I know are shorts, retests it, then yeah, we're probably going to come down into ultimate balance and maybe take out that overnight low that has poor structure, that poor low, come down to the bottom of here, and this is where the rubber meets the road. Okay? We could just go like this, tap anchored VWAP for the month, 63.94s, and rip back in to ultimate balance. We can just break the lows and step up as well. Okay? An all-out crazy market weakness would be break this, hold to go lower. There's a resistance, support at 63.91. Honestly, right now, looking at it, that's all I'm looking at for a short. I want to be active around here and really concentrate on that 64.33 to 64.38 area. That's your bull bear line. Okay, moving on to shorts. To longs. Okay, what do I want to see? Now I'm going to lean heavily on the area I just said. Okay, so what if we get an initial sell off, which happens a lot? Okay, you get an initial sell off, comes down into this demand zone. Okay, this is a fresh demand zone, and then you got an old one overlapping it. I think we could correct the overnight low poor low, rip back above, hold, retest, and challenge the bull bear line, 64.33, yesterday's most traded price. What you need to see here is to take out that supply zone, retest to go higher. That's your 50% Fibonacci of yesterday, and this is supply. Does that happen? I don't know. Okay, but my guess is if the market is not weak, we're going to get a relief rally, and it doesn't mean we have to go up here. We can just really go to here. That'd be a great trade. Now, what if we start out and just drive off the open, break this level, right? Well, then I want to see a retest of that 64.32, the most traded price of yesterday. If it holds, then you got a nice shot to come up to go back into yesterday's value area, high area. Okay? Now, for this to work, the internals can't be that weak. Or you drive up, the market is strong. People are buying tech, the dip in tech for a day. I don't know. Okay? That is your ES. That is your ES. Now let's go to NASDAQ. Remember, NASDAQ's relatively weaker. Relatively weaker. All right. Let me expand this. All right. Your NASDAQ is literally at the lows. Okay? Literally at the lows. All right. So, how do we play this? We came into a demand zone right here, found support. We got a fresh demand zone here. Okay? We have a balanced profile. We're at the overnight VPOX. We're at yesterday's lows. Okay? We're below the 235s. That's your most traded price of the last month. Below that is bearish. Below that is bearish. Okay? Now, below the anchor VWAP. So like I said, this tech is bearish. And the big level is the 235s. Okay? So, right here, we're going to put a nice little range here. Ooh. Let's do it. Let's do it. Nice little range here. And what that's going to do, this is going to be, let's include, man, I'm sorry. Let's include the anchor VWAP for the month and supply. So this is the level, this area. Okay? We're currently right at yesterday's lows. Okay? We got a balanced profile. Balanced profile. Okay? Now, I'm going to mark off this overnight lows with this demand zone. There's an old and a fresh demand zone. Okay? Really what it comes down to, and let's mark off the 50% retracement, last week's lows, the week to day anchor VWAPs right there too. Okay, we got some single prints from yesterday. These are the zones. Okay? I think we range today. Overnight profiles balanced. Okay? Doesn't mean that has to happen, but that's generally what I feel the probabilities are. Okay? What we're going to look at here, let's open this up. Boom. There's our price action for the overnight. Okay. And what I'm going to go for first, let's start with scenarios, and then we'll get everybody out of here, is bearish. Okay. What do I want to see? 235 is the wall, right? So we can come up here into this supply. There's a little mini supply here, overnight lows. Try to take out 235s. Maybe we hit the month to day anchor view up, fail, retest 235s. That will probably make us take out the overnight lows. Now, if you take out those overnight lows, right, you have the next demand zone down here at 232 and a quarter. I don't know if this is in the markets today. It just fell a lot, right? I don't know. Okay, so this move, I think, definitely could be a great trade to the overnight lows. This would be gravy if you hit the next demand. Okay. If you're conservative, we can just come and drive straight, but if we need to hold, we need to hold, we need to hold to go down here. This is your best bet, though, to get weakness here. And I think that it's going to stop near the overnight lows and recover. I could be wrong. Okay. Doesn't even mean I'm wrong. These are just scenarios. Okay. These are just scenarios. Now, of course, if we do get a move all the way up to the 50% to last week's lows, right? I need a market that's in parity. I don't need a strong market. Then maybe a fade is in there. But like I said, we're here. I don't know if I like that because we're back over 235s. So I'm going to scratch that. Well, I'm just not going to scratch it. Just it's not a highly probable trade. Moving on to the longs. Okay, to the longs. Now, first thing that could happen, we can just drive lower, break the overnight lows, and then just catch and find a higher low to go back to 235s. That would just be, all right, we stayed in range today, and then for the rest of the day, we try to do this, but then we come back, and then we just kind of do this. Could see that definitely happening. Okay. Now, if the market catches a little more of a bid and people are like, hey, I want to buy Palantir. I want to buy Meta at this price. I want to buy AMD. This is a dip. Okay. This could work like this. You push up, drive through that month to date anchor VWAP. Okay. Then market's getting stronger. You pull back and retest 235s. You start to hold and hold. Well, then you got some steam. You could possibly move back up to maybe 23641s, the week to day anchor VWAP, yesterday's value area highs. I don't think that's probably the most viable with tech getting slammed. Okay. Now, if money keeps going in, out of tech into these other sectors, that's going to more stabilize the S&P 500. You just need tech to go sideways today, right? So, like I said, tale of two stories here in both markets. One's underneath their month-to-day anchor VWAP, which is the Nasdaq. One is above it, is the ES. All right, that's it, folks, for me today. Please smash that like button if you enjoyed my analysis. Okay, that's much appreciated. All right, now, as always, join your boy every morning. Like my friend Rosa says, I'm a podcast that you need to listen to. So subscribe. All right? Please. I'll give you the story. All right? I'll give you everything you need to know in the markets. You don't even need to open up your phone. I'll tell you the news, the market, the economic calendar, everything you need to look out for, the levels, the technical analysis. All right? Just gave you long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the Nasdaq. All right? Golden nuggets. All right? Just to give you some history on myself. All right? Really quickly. I've had about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mentors in trading. 5. All with probably a combined over 100 years of experience. Okay? That's who I've sucked my knowledge from, and I give all of that knowledge to you together. I have all of the best things that I got from them that worked, and I use them. All of the best things that they did that I saw reactions and stuff, that's what I use. I combined it into one system. Okay, so if you want the best indicator on the markets, you go to my Discord, you join Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, sign up. Right? Immediately you get commentary from me that I don't steer you wrong. Okay, commentary from me, I don't steer you wrong every day. Right? Tell you what's going on in the markets, tell you what I'm looking at. If you want, come in live, ask questions. I've been going live almost every day. Okay, you can see me stalking trades. You can see me doing all that. All right. Also, you get the weekly expected move indicator for Thinkorswim. Go to that channel, put it on your screens, and watch what happens when it hits those moves. It's kind of crazy. All right. Now, that being said, everybody have a great day. Remember, no trade is a trade. I have no trade so far this week. Yesterday should have been a 64.70 short, but I didn't. I didn't lose money. Didn't take that trade, but I'm being patient. So hopefully today I get something to trade. Maybe if I don't have a trade. Okay? So if I don't see you in my Discord, I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Take it easy.